Sadnam. We are Jen and Ramthan from Heart Center Revolution.
Our intention with this podcast is to share the best of Kundalini Yoga and conscious living with you so you can live a more heart-centered life. Welcome to episode 4 of Heart Centered Revolution podcast. In this episode, we talk about the Aquarian Age, which is this transition period that we're going through. It's kind of why everything is super intense right now. And we also cover the 5 Sutras of the Aquarian Age. So these are little tidbits of wisdom that help us know what to do and how to handle this time. This is one of my favorite topics, which is why it's no coincidence that this is the first Just Jen episode of the Heart Centered Revolution podcast. So since we're using a recording from one of my live classes, then it'll just be my voice on this podcast today. But don't worry, Ramthan will be back next episode. So I also wanted to share that Ramthan and I both teach at 7th Chakra Yoga in Southern California. There's one studio in Huntington Beach and there's a studio in Placentia. If you live or visit this area and you want to come to the studio, please check out 7thchakrayoga.com for their schedule. It's a very special place to us because 7th Chakra is where we both did our teacher training, which is where we met. We delved deeper into this Kundalini Yoga practice. It just feels like home. So I share that because in the recording of my class, as I'm talking to the students, I talk about here in 7th Chakra, referring to that specific yoga studio and community. But that same sentiment applies to you, the listener, and to Heart Centered Revolution. They're very similar communities with very similar intentions. And so just because I say that word, it's there's a lot of upsides to using these recordings from the classes because I think it makes it gives it that live flowing quality to it. But then obviously we're talking to students in the recordings who are present with us in a specific location that might not apply to you. And I don't want you to feel left out. And so please, when we say 7th Chakra, take that to mean Heart-Centered Revolution. And when we say you, as I'm talking to the students there, I am also speaking with you. If you feel called to listen to these episodes, then all of those same sentiments apply to you. All right. As we have been doing in the other podcast, there's a pranayam at the end. So this time we're going to do alternate nostril breathing, which will be interesting to explain with my voice rather than demonstrating. And then at the end, I share how you can access your free printable of the 5 sutras. So if they speak to you like they speak to me, you can access this. It's a 1-page printable that has all the 5 sutras written on it, just as a reminder, so you can use them to guide you through your day as I use them to guide me through mine. We hope you enjoy. And you can blink your eyes to open. We'll talk I want to share a little bit about Kundalini Yoga and the Aquarian Age, and then we'll get into our Kriya. So the Aquarian Age is this time that we're going through of all these intense changes that are occurring. And I wanted to share a quote that Yogi Bhajan, actually 2 quotes that Yogi Bhajan had to say about the Aquarian Age. And I have a deep personal experience with this because I did my teacher training 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember hearing these quotes and hearing the description of the times that were to come. And it was hard to I didn't believe it, to be honest. I didn't believe that things would get really intense and would speed up as much as they have. And there were all these descriptions in many of the lineages of Eastern knowledge or ancient knowledge, not just Kundalini Yoga, of the shifts of this time. And I just didn't believe it. It was hard to believe that it was going to happen. But now I read these and I'm like, oh yeah, for me, it's an accurate description of the sensations I'm feeling over the past, 3-4 years. I guess 3 years. So Yogi Bhajan says, the age of Aquarius is coming our way. Emptiness, insanity, and pain shall be everybody's affair. People will like to hit walls and to find out where they can go. They shall come to you. As insane as they are, if you do not take away their pain and instead you sit in judgment, you are wrong people. So he's speaking to teachers. That's why we wanted to teach you how to remain disciplined in the most undisciplined world, how to grow, to glow, how to serve and to be. First, we identify ourselves. We are. Second, our words should be seen that they should cool down any fire, the desperation, the depression of the person. Third, we must have the power to uplift and serve the person, to be graceful. And finally, we must stand pure. Yogi Bhajan. In another quote, he says, "In this time, Piscean values are giving way to Aquarian values. The difference between the two is very simple. Piscean values work from the ego, creating boundaries. Aquarian values have no boundaries. They are infinite. Aquarian consciousness takes you inside your soul so that you can relate to the soul in all." The first quote where he shares about kind of the pain and the chaos of the time that's going on, if you're in this room, I'm sure that you're sensitive to that, because the people who are drawn to these practices are the people he's talking about. Like, whether you're technically a teacher or not, if you're drawn to this practice, if you're in this room, you are a leader and a teacher, or you're at the very least sensitive to all the chaos that's going on. And that's where Kundalini Yoga, not where it comes from, but that's the purpose that it can serve for us, or any practice. It doesn't have to be Kundalini Yoga, but in order to stand tall and to stay true and to remain true to who you are, to your compassion, to your heart, and to not let all the intensity of what's going on get to you, it's important to maintain some sort of consistent practice of connecting with your highest self. And so if it can be, it can be poetry, it can be art, it can be exercise, it can be your work if it's purposeful and passionate, and it can be meditation and prayer, and it can be Kundalini Yoga. That's the path for me, and that's what we teach here. But I don't want to even pretend like it's the only path, because that would be insane. There's too many people in the world. We have to have more than one path up this mountain. So I wanted to share a little bit more about this transition, because I think it helps, as we see the news and see what's going on, it helps me at least understand and put in context all the stuff that I hear, so I can see what we're doing is we're shedding this old way of being. We're shedding, as a culture, as a society, and as a species, we're shedding this way of being, and we're stepping into a new way of being. And that's hard, and that takes a lot of energy, and most people are uncomfortable with change, and so there's a backlash. I'm a psychologist, I'm a marriage and family therapist, so I've studied psychology a lot, and they have this thing called an extinction burst. So like if a child is, I'm trying to think of an example, like if they are doing something that they're not supposed to do, I'll have to think of another example, sorry. So if you start implementing a change with a child, so say they're used to watching TV every night for an hour, and you're like, oh, I got to change this, like this has gotten out of control. And then you implement a change and say that they can't watch that TV anymore. That first day, how are they going to react? But you're going to have this huge response in reaction to a change of expectation or a change of how things go. And that's what we call an extinction burst. So when something ends or changes, it's natural to rebel against that and to push against it. And then over time, it calms down. And so when I see a lot of the anger and hatred and whatever that's going on in the news, that's how I try to conceptualize it. If we're shedding this old way of being, and people, not out of being bad, but out of fear of change and discomfort. Like they're feeling as uncomfortable as I am with all this change, but the response is just different. So that's kind of the context, but I just wanted to share and see if this relates or if you have any experience. And if you want to stretch out and get comfortable, that's fine. So in the Piscean Age, everything was machines and hierarchies. We had like authority figures over you. The corporate structure is a very good example of this, of where there's a CEO, and we've all seen the charts. There's like the person at the top, and then second level, and then lower level. And our schools are structured that way. There's a principal and a vice principal and school counselor, and then teachers, and then students, and they're way at the bottom, and they're the ones that the school is supposed to serve. And so this structure has just seeped into everywhere. The main purpose in the Piscean Age, how you got power, was to get information or knowledge and to hold it and keep it secret. But we're moving out of that model where no one can keep anything secret anymore. we see it on the news every day, like people tweet things and then it's out in public. Like you just can't, we're getting into an age where you can't hold things secret, whether it's information or transgressions or anything. Like our truth is going to be out there for everyone to see, whether it's social media or everyone's becoming more sensitive and aware. And so that truth, your actions are going to be your truth more than in the past, like in the Piscean age, where you could just tell people what you were and that's what the truth was. Now you have to show people who you are. And that's a big transition that we're going through. Yeah, so that's kind of the Piscean age. One of my favorite quotes about the Piscean age that, again, just has rung true the past few years is that the truth is what you can convince somebody else of. It's a very much an intellect game, a game of manipulation, a game of convincing. And that's kind of how power and information was spread. But we're shifting into a new age where it's not about convincing someone of anything. The truth is what your experience is. Your experience of something makes it true. And then the purpose is not to gather information. It's to be who you are, to be compassionate, to activate your awareness and your energy, and to have your presence do the work for you. You won't have to convince anyone of anything if your presence works for you. And in order for that to work, you have to be in connection. You have to know who you are so that you can project that out there, rather than trying to come up with a mask or like a persona of who you are. And so the first step is for us to know who we are. These changes that we're going through are radical, and they're happening quickly, and it's happening in every area of our life, in our work life, in our mental life, in our spiritual life, in our emotional life, in our country political life. It's happening everywhere. So in order to deal with these changes, or like as guideposts, I guess is how I see them. And this is why I wanted to bring up the Aquarian Age, because the 5 sutras for the Aquarian Age are 5 of my favorite things from all of Kundalini Yoga. I carry them with me, like in the back of my mind, as for me, they serve as guideposts of like, if I'm in a situation and I don't know how to respond, or if I have an internal judgment or fear or doubt or pressure, a negative emotion, usually one of these 5 sutras can help me, or help me find the way. And the first sutra is to recognize that the other person is you. So when someone shows up for you and creates a reaction or does something that upsets you, to recognize that they are another part of you, that you've probably behaved that way at some point in your life. You probably have the capacity, like in a certain situation you would have. Or you may actually have that exact emotion or energy within you at that moment, and they're just reflecting it to you as a favor to you to acknowledge it and release it. But that requires a response instead of a reaction. Not to react right away, but to take a moment back, think about how this person is the same as you, or how their behavior is something that you can see within yourself, and to respond that way. The second sutra is that there is a way through every block. This one I use all the time whenever there's a challenge. If you can keep with that belief that there's a way through this challenge, then you will find a way. As human beings, we're incredibly creative. We're incredibly capable of finding solutions, creating, like we're planning to go to Mars. Like that's it's literally out of this world. And no one 50 years ago would have thought that we could do that. And so we are incredibly capable of achieving the quote-unquote impossible if we believe that we're capable of it. So that reminds, like the second sutra, there is a way through every block, reminds me of that. And the third sutra is when the time is on you, start, and the pressure will be off. And so for me, this is if you're feeling pressured or... this taps, I think, into some of our existential anxiety that we have as human beings, that life is only so short and a lot of our ambitions are huge. And we want to accomplish things and we want to have life be a certain experience. And so if you're feeling pressure, if you're feeling these messages that you have a book to write, or you have teacher training to take, or you have
I'm thinking of things that I want to do. If you have that nudging, that inkling of like, oh, I should do that. I should learn a language. I should learn to play guitar. I should travel to Bali. I should go to France. Like, if you have these inklings and it comes with a certain pressure, then take some sort of a step forward. You don't have to buy the plane ticket, but you can research where you might go. You can, look up what credit card has the points that you need to get so that you can travel for free. Whatever the next step is, the point of this sutra is that, like, when you're feeling that nudge, that inkling, that quote unquote pressure, just take a step and that pressure will relieve. And that pressure, that nudge forward, is your internal guidance system telling you that you should at least take that next step forward. And the fourth sutra is to understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the times. And this one speaks greatly to, like I said, where we're headed towards. We're heading towards a more compassionate, connected community, broader community, right? These yoga studios, 7th chakra specifically, and other communities have this compassionate, loving energy about them. It just hasn't pervaded all of society yet. But we're on our way, and we just keep roping new people in. We have 2 fairly new people here and probably more that I don't know. And you just keep, these communities feel so good that we keep pulling more people in because we want to feel good, and then it just spreads like wildfire. So eventually, hopefully, these types of communities, or the feeling you get here, will be the new norm. And so we want to understand through compassion, because that's the way forward. The 5th sutra is to vibrate the cosmos, and the cosmos shall clear the path. This just makes me feel powerful. And so if whatever your belief system is, like, the visualization here is that you are connected to the universe, whatever that means to you. And that if you can resonate with it and you set your intention and you put it out there, then it will clear your path. But you have to know and be very clear about what it is you want, and you have to have that projection be very strong. And that's part of what we do here in Kundalini Yoga, is help you clear the fears and doubts that we all have in our subconscious mind, that we all have from when we grew up or from our families or just handed down generationally. Our culture has fears and doubts that we just acclimate and just collect throughout our life. And then if you believe in prior lifetimes, you put all of that on there. Like, there's so much fear and doubt to be had. And so we use Kundalini Yoga and meditation. And then, like I said, people use other practices, prayer and breath walk and mindfulness and hypnotherapy and all of this stuff to clear those fears and doubts, so that we can get very clear on who we are and very clear on what we want, and we can project that into the universe, and the universe will respond. And we can project that to other people, and they will respond to us in a way that we never thought possible. So as you can tell, I love these sutras. I find them very comforting when I'm having a difficult time, or when I'm feeling fear and doubt. I'm like, okay, like, they just are little guideposts and give me hints as to how to move forward.
Oh, I love those sutras so much. Like I said in the class, they just are so helpful when you're having a hard time. One of them can always apply and give you some guidance as to how to move forward and what to do. As I said earlier, I've created for you a printable that has all the 5 sutras on it. It's really pretty looking, so you can display it or put it as the background on your computer just to keep these practices with you throughout your day. To get your copy of the printable, please visit heartcenteredrevolution.com/episode 4. There are show notes there also that give a brief description of this episode. Now we'll transition into our pranayam for today. So today we're going to do what's called alternate nostril breathing. I'm going to describe how you do it through a podcast, through audio only, which I've never done. I usually demonstrate this breathing technique. But before we jump into it, keep in mind that what we're going to try to do, or what we're going to do, is use our hand to force ourselves to breathe through one nostril, or inhale and exhale through specific nostrils. So if you haven't noticed, throughout the day, you will automatically one of your nostrils will be dominant. So as you go throughout your day, sometimes your left nostril will feel a little stuffed up. And then they say about every 90 minutes it switches. And then your right nostril will feel a little bit stuffed up. So when we're breathing clearly through our left nostril, that's activating our relaxation. So the nervous system, the part of our nervous system that relaxes us, that's what our left nostril is connected to. And then our right nostril is connected to the activating, energizing system. And so when our left nostril is more clear, we're more active, more energized. So with pranayam, we take our body, so our hand and our nose, and we can manipulate this breath. And so we can consciously manipulate our breath in order to create a desired effect, which is exactly what pranayam is. So alternate nostril breathing that we're going to do, it helps us balance our right and left brain. It helps us integrate the different parts of us, but also provides grounding. It purifies those channels, the Ida and the Pingala, that are both activating and cooling. And it can create a sense of well-being and harmony. It can also help with headaches, migraines, and other stress-related symptoms. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you're standing or sitting, elongate your spine, sit up tall. If you're in a place where you can, close your eyes and focus them at the third eye. Open your chest so that your heart is proud and lifted. Roll your shoulders up and back. Gently tuck your chin down so you can elongate your neck. And let's take just a few regular breaths here. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. Let's do 2 more like that. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. All right. So taking our left hand, you'll take your left hand and put it in Gyan Mudra. So that's your thumb touching, your thumb tip touching the tip of your pointer finger. So it's like you're making an okay sign. But you're going to flip it palm up if you're sitting down, or palm out if you're standing up. So your arm can be resting by your side, but palm out. And then for our right hand, we're going to lift our right hand up to our face, and we're going to use it to gently close nostrils. So we'll start with our thumb, and we'll gently close our right nostril. And we'll inhale through our left nostril. So inhale with me. At the top of the breath, take a moment and just move your hand gently so that your thumb comes off your right nostril and your pointer finger closes your left nostril. And then you'll exhale through the right nostril. So exhale. And then inhale through that right nostril. Then gently move your hand so that your thumb is closing the right nostril and your pointer finger comes off the left nostril, and exhale through the left nostril. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Beautiful. Keep up this pattern of breathing where you're alternating sides, and you exhale and then inhale on a side, and then you alternate to again exhale and inhale. You want to keep the breath long and deep, and relax your face, relax your shoulders. Make sure everything's relaxed. It's almost as if the breath is breathing you and not that you're breathing the breath. As you inhale with the left and then exhale to the right, that action helps make you calm, and it integrates any unwanted emotions and stress. As you inhale the right and exhale the left, that can give you clarity and a positive mood, and it can help you focus on what is important. Keep up your breath work. I actually love this balance because it gives you a nice, I love this breath because it gives you a nice balance between being relaxed and energized. It gives you that clarity. I think it's great for working on a project or something like that. So continue with your breathing. Inhaling on one side, exhaling on the next. Then inhaling again on that side and then alternating. All right, beautiful, yogis. So rest, take your hand down. We'll take a deep inhale through our nose. Suspend your breath. Pull up on the pelvic floor. Visualize a channel of energy through the center of your body. Eyes focused at the third eye if they're closed. Energy shooting out the crown of your head. Exhaling. Let's take a few moments here just to recognize any shifts in our mental, emotional, and physical well-being as a result of this easy 3-minute practice. All right, if your eyes have been closed, when you're ready, just blink them open. Thank you so much for joining us on this 4th episode and for joining us in that pranayam practice. I hope that you keep it in mind. You can use it throughout your day when you're needing, that calm clarity. That's what I like that for. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please help us out by subscribing in iTunes and leaving a rating and a review. It helps iTunes kind of notice that we're here and share our podcast with more people who would be interested. And until we see you again, may the longtime sun shine upon you. And we love you.